Okay, so I just want to do a quick review on the book 438 Days. So this book's pretty amazing. It's basically the true story of a Mexican fisherman who was lost off the coast for 438 days. It's absolutely incredible. I really like kind of survival stories. I like non-fiction. And this book was really kind of up my street. I'm very much into personal development. A lot of the stuff I talk about on my channel around reading is personal development sort of stuff, non-fiction. I enjoy fiction books as well, but mainly I'm into non-fiction. I'm into personal development. I'm kind of developing myself and improving myself by reading these sort of books. Some of them are more obvious personal development sort of things that were deliberately written to be personal development. This is just a true story, but I think it's got loads of really important lessons in there for people who are interested in personal development. So it's 438 days. It's Salvador Alvarenga was the name of the guy, and he went off with a guy a bit younger than him fishing. He was an experienced fisherman, been doing it for years, from Mexico. Had a bit of a reputation as a bit of a lad about the town, I suppose, bit of a brawler and stuff like that, bit of a drinker and an eater and things, you know, but pretty macho sort of guy, but was considered to be a really experienced fisherman who could really handle himself out at sea and what have you. But they went off, and very quickly they kind of get into trouble in this tiny little boat that they're in, and you know, talking about terrible storms and the water almost completely flooding the boat. Having to survive those storms, it's really quite frightening and intense. And then of course you've got the good old friends of the sea, the sharks, which are there, which are just basically like a constant threat. And he talks about the constant threat from them and how terrifying it is, how he knows fishermen who have been, you know, lost and never seen again with absolutely no remains because the sharks have got them. And you know, we all know really off Mexico, the Gulf of Mexico is supposed to be one of the worst places for sharks. So for me personally, I find that quite terrifying. But yeah, he talks about seeing these sharks sort of circling and things, and the story goes on, and they're there for a period of time that's unbelievable. Then it gets even more unbelievable how long they're there for. He starts to survive by they manage to catch a few fish here and there. They manage to catch birds, and they're just eating these things raw. They're eating turtles. I won't give too many spoilers, but just to give you a bit of a flavour. And they're sort of drinking turtle blood and things, and his companion isn't really as kind of resilient or as perhaps as strong as he is. Doesn't perhaps have quite the same faith that he does, and he starts to deteriorate more quickly. And then you know, I nearly gave the game away a bit there, but I won't say exactly what happens. But he struggles, and it goes on and on and on. It's really quite frightening. He uses lots of techniques to try and keep himself positive. He sort of uses his imagination to pretend that he's actually eating something quite nice and that he's going to do the shopping for his friend. He'll go and get something from a shop and he'll bring it back and it'll be really nice. And they reference kind of psychologists and people who commented on it at the time, and they sort of say how, you know, this is a really good way of surviving because you're using your imagination to keep you positive. They talk about the power of prayer in there as well because he has quite a lot of faith. And they say how the action of actually praying is quite important in these situations, whether you have faith or not, because it simply kind of empties your head of other stresses and worries and fears and things, which can cause you to sort of deteriorate more quickly. It's almost like a form of meditation, they say. And I found that quite interesting because we know in the world of personal development that meditation is really important. We also know that faith's really important to a lot of people as well, whether you believe in God or something more than what we have here on earth or not. There is a lot of evidence to suggest that just having faith alone can really help people through difficult times, can really help people towards the end of their life. So it's not necessarily a case of whether you believe in that stuff or not, but actually the people who do manage to have faith, that can really give them massive strength. I think that's really important and really significant. He ends up on the Marshall Islands. He ends up about 6,700 miles away from where he set off. And on his journey he's circling, he's going back on himself, he's experiencing horrible parts of the ocean that are considered to be like desert, where it's just hot and there's just obviously no shelter whatsoever. He shelters underneath like an ice box or a box that you put the fish in, I can't remember what it's called. Shelters underneath there from the sun because his skin is just getting so damaged by the sun, and it's just constant stress. And how the hell he manages to survive and keep going and keep the mentality to, he thinks about his daughter who I think he kind of fell out of his family before he went, kind of thing, and not to give too much away, but I think he was split up potentially and had fallings out with his family and stuff. But he holds on to this thing of he wants to see his daughter grow up and he wants to be there for her and he wants to make amends and things. So he holds on to that with so much kind of strength and determination, and that sort of seems to get him through. But it's just an amazing true story. Like I say, how he survived is just incredible. Really, it's just a real story of kind of mental discipline and positive thinking and strength and good luck and good fortune and stuff as well, but faith and just some of the experiences, some of the things he says that he did to kind of cope, and the fact that he was prepared to pretty much do anything and eat anything and drink anything to kind of survive and keep going with that kind of end goal in his mind of getting back to his daughter. It was just incredible, really. But yeah, he gets found eventually, and then of course when he gets found, it's almost unbelievable that he's been found, and then they talk about how much of a struggle it is for him afterwards, readapting. Of course, he's been out at sea for so long that he's just quite paranoid and scared and not used to being around people and not used to kind of eating properly and all that sort of stuff, and he's just in an absolute state, and obviously PTSD. Of course, he's going to have PTSD after that. It's that absolutely horrific sort of situation that went on and on and on. He was passed by ships a few times as well that could have stopped for him, that presumably didn't see him. I don't know if that's made particularly clear in the book or not. I assume they didn't see him. I assume that they would stop, but who knows? Who really knows the truth of that? But yeah, 430 days. It's 38 days. Sorry. Really, really good book. I listened to a lot of books on Audible, but I actually read this one. My wife got it for me for Christmas, paperback version. Really easy to get through. Really gripping. Fantastic book. Really, really recommend this one. I think it got 4.5, 5 stars, and it's definitely worthy of that. Just the fact that the story's so amazing, you know. I felt in places it could have been written a little bit better, perhaps, but such a good story that none of that really matters. So, fantastic book.